Welcome back to Patriot Network TV. Welcome, taxpayers. It's time to talk about fiscal 2011. You set a record. In 2011, the numbers are now in. It's time to run from your house screaming. And I mean screaming. We spent, the United States spent $3.6 trillion. It's a record. We've never spent this much money. Now, if that isn't thrilling enough, $3.6 trillion in spending, we only took in $2.3 trillion in revenues, which gives us a $1.3 trillion deficit, which is equal to 8.6% of the gross domestic product. Imagine that. It is unbelievable. And this from the president, who when he was candidate Obama said that George W. Bush was fiscally irresponsible. Oh, how I miss George W. Bush. President Bush, come back to us. President Bush in 2007 had $2.568 trillion, $2.568 billion in receipts. In outlays, $2.729 trillion, leading to a deficit of $161 billion, or 1.2% of the GDP. Now, consider for a second 2007 versus 2011. 2.568, $2.568 trillion in tax revenue. Now, not only does Mr. Obama, after accusing George Bush of coddling the rich, total tax receipts have gone down, not up, under President Obama. Apparently, the Bush tax cuts do in fact work, because we used to get more taxes coming in under the Bush programs than we do under the Obama programs. And it's not just a few dollars, it's $250 billion. 250, well, rough number, $255 billion. $250 billion more under the Bush policies than we get under the Obama policies. Now, we also had unemployment in 2007 at 5%. And if you've paid attention to any of the previous videos where I talked to you about unemployment, if we calculated unemployment the way I was taught to when I was a freshman in college at the University of Montana, unemployment's about 16.7, 16.9% right now. If you go to U6, unemployment, underemployment, long-term discouraged worker, it's easily 25%. So not only are we spending more, we're getting less. Now, we have these huge deficits, which, by the way, are borrowed dollars, treasury bills sent off to, say, China. We're on a pathway, just a little footnote here for our many friends who are service people who are in the military and realize what strategy means. For those of you who don't know, strategy comes from the Greek word strategem, which means to win at the direct expense of your enemy. If you're the Chinese and you view the United States as the last single impediment to your world dominance, what better way to ensure that your military grows than to buy U.S. Treasury bonds and have the interest on those bonds totally finance the Chinese military? We're only a few more bond sales away from writing a check every year that completely finances the Chinese military. But of course, if you listen to Mr. Obama, the Chinese are our friends. They're peaceful folks. We don't have to worry about it. We don't need to worry about a 6 or a 7 million man standing army. We don't need to worry about any of the other problems that are going on in China right now. They would never just go to war to reduce population. They don't need effective population control, seeing as how they have 1.5 billion people and can only feed 1.3 billion. There'd be no reason to mount a massive armed incursion into India or onto Taiwan. Never happened. Nothing to worry about there. Nothing to see. Move along. So we're up to 3 deficits in a row, all of them over $1 trillion. We're looking at $4.5 trillion in rough numbers for the deficit run up in the first 3 years of Mr. Obama's administration. And it would be one thing if we were just in debt, but see, we're not just in debt. We're already flat broke. We owe $15 trillion in bonds already. And in the GSEs, the government-sponsored enterprises, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, we have another $7 trillion in outstanding debt. So that's $22 trillion right there. When you count in Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, you're looking at a total unfunded liability plus debt plus GSE liability that exceeds $211 trillion. It might be time to just stop spending money. It might be time to cut the federal budget by over $1 trillion. It might be time to get rid of the current tax code. It might be time to make some fundamental changes in the way we manage our country, because if we don't do it and do it immediately, we are in real trouble. I do not understand, when the numbers are this bleak, why in these debates going on among the Republican candidates, every one of them doesn't start with that great line from the movie Network. You know, I think Patty Chayefsky is laughing as hard as he can from the grave. In Network, they've got Howard Beale, the crazy anchorman, and he says, I want you to go to your windows, and I want you to open your windows, and I want you to stick your head out the window, and I want you to scream at the top of your lungs, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. That's what these numbers should make you do, and it should make every candidate running for the Republican nomination do the same. I want you to get as mad as hell about these numbers. We are teetering on the edge of irreversible harm to this republic. Only you can save it. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.